How would Yuji, Nobara, and Megami do in the Chunin exams? Literally saw this on Twitter and thought, damn, this would be kind of fun. And Naruto is my real starter anime. I started watching way back when I was a small king at the age of 7. So shout out to Ahmed or Haksal. I don't know how to say that. I probably butchered it, but shouts out to you. Now, curse energy and chakra are just going to be one big ass energy system. They're all going to use it just so shit just does not get complicated going through. It'd be much easier that way. Now, these three will be scaled from Shibuya and onto post Shibuya. And Sukuna will be playing a small factor in this what if. So let's see how our 3 first years of Jujutsu High do. Similar to Team 7, Yuji, Nobara, and Megami will be recommended to join the Chunin exams from Satoru Gojo. They'll walk in to see the crowd of fellow competitors. We got Team 7, Ino Shigecho, Team 10, Team Guy of Lee, Neji, and Tenten, Team 8, Kiba, Shino, and Hinata, some random ass sound ninja. And last but not least, the Sand Ninja rookies, Kankuro, Gata, and Tamari. So in the first test, which is the written exam, there's really no way for our first years to be able to realistically use their abilities and get away with cheating creatively, especially Yuji. I mean, he's just gonna have to just sit there and look pretty. Now, Nobara realistically could only do something creative if she already had nails planted on the classroom mirrors and use straw doll to slightly tilt the mirror onto another person's answers and cheat from there. And realistically, accuracy does not matter whatsoever. I mean, look at this bullshit that 1010 and Lee were doing. Like, what the fuck? Megami, on the other hand, would probably just answer them normally until he gets stumped on a question and would just hide in the shadow behind a proctor while having a fake shadow clone appear to be writing and look over another ninja's answers. Long story short, they miraculously passed because Ibiki lets them know, yeah, this test and questions didn't actually matter. We just want to see how crafty you were at gaining information without being caught. How Kiba passed still blows me. This nigga had a whole dog barking and telling him the answers, but hey, he somehow passed. Fraud. In the Forest of Death, the rookies should be able to really shine here. Each team needs a Heaven Scroll and an Earth Scroll in order to pass. Simple enough. So Team Gojo is going to have to work as a team to get a scroll, which compared to some of the other Genin teams, this is not a problem for them. Even moving through the forest, Megami's 10 shadows for mobility and versatility in approaching an opponent is going to be extremely useful, such as using Nue as a flying option for the team to hover over the forest, Rabbit Escape to catch an opponent off guard, and Max Elephant to flood enemies and capture them. Those are just 3 options he has at his arsenal right now. Nobara adds a resident sniper as she can launch her nails at not only opponents but trees to break the branches and create diversion attacks. And Yuji is such a powerhouse, any character that provides them an issue in dealing hard-hitting damage, as Yuji can just simply provide. Now, moving throughout the forest, they would run into some no-name ninja that viewed them as weaklings. A lot of the time, they will probably focus on taking out Megami because of his potential, and he will be a well-known rookie to look out for. He will be under the likes of Sasuke, Gaara, and Neji, but from the perception of the average ninja, he will be a tier under them, but above characters like Naruto or Rock Lee. After capturing their Earth Scroll, they would need a Heaven Scroll. Looking at the matchups, they will probably run into the Sound Ninja, Team 7, or Team Guy, because Team 8 and the Sand Ninja by this time have already passed the test. But don't forget, we will get to those teams. Don't even worry about it. Now, against the Sound Ninja, we do have some interesting matchups with Dosu, Zaku, and Kin. Sound Jutsus really shouldn't be that much of a problem. If you consider Curse Energy and Chakra to be a fused power system, they could be applied to their ears, such as adding Chakra or Curse Energy to nullify hearing-based attacks such as Toge's Curse Speech. Best case scenario, Yuji is definitely dealing with Dosu, the best out of the 3. Zaku, I would give it to Nobara because with Straw Doll Resonance, she would defeat him from a distance. And maybe even plug up those slicing sound wave holes in his fingers with the nails. Then maybe do a Resonance and just, I guess, completely destroy him. And let Megami easily stomp Ken with Demon Dog. Fuck those bells. We're not worried about her. They get their Earth Scroll and continue on to their goal of passing the exam. I really don't see them trying to fight Team 7. Not because they don't want to smoke, but I just think they will get along pretty well. Especially Naruto and Yuji. A cool interaction with Megami's dog and maybe Kiba with Akamaru will be a fun one. And honestly, with Nobara, I don't know if she'll like Sakura or Ino. More so Sakura than Ino, and she would definitely not be falling for Sasuke. But she would probably have noticed something different about him just from his chakra from the curse mark. So our team in the forest are realistically looking at both sides of just the writing. I don't see them running into or starting random fights. They would mostly just focus on the mission at hand. Now, as for Sukuna, I do think we would get some cool monologues of awesome of him thinking or just looking throughout the forest. First, I think it'd be cool if he was sensing chakra energy with a faint chill to it, similar to his own, even noticing something was off for one of the Chunin before the test even started. This chakra energy he was feeling was Orochimaru, and he starts to smile at the thought of potentially facing a guy that has similar evilness to him. Now we can get into the meathead side of things. Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara in the preliminary rounds in 1v1 matchups. I'm going to say this now, Rock Lee versus Gaara still happens. I'm not changing or touching the history whatsoever. Although it'd be cool if we can get a Gaara dialogue or inner dialogue of him saying something is off about Yuji and that he has something similar to him, but it feels a little more evil and personal. Rock Lee and Yuji would get along really good in my opinion, and it'd be a great battle of martial artists brawlers if it ever was to happen, even though we all know Rock Lee wins because of the gates. As for who they will face in the matchups, I'm gonna have my own randomized list of opponents and see who they go up against. First matchup, Shino versus Megumi. This matchup is kind of interesting. Shino has parasitic insects that eat off chakra-fused beetles that live inside Shino like a nest, and using them to primarily trap opponents and surround them. And he kind of maneuvers with them by hanging from trees, but that's about it. He mainly at points just puts them on his arms if he needs to extend somewhere. I like Shino, but at this stage, I don't think he can really do anything to Megumi. Not to mention, Shino isn't at all great in close range fighting compared to Megumi, who is pretty solid at that. Megumi's biggest advantage in this would actually be Nue, where at this point in Shino's career, he's never fought an airborne fighter or really an airborne target at that point. Shino could at least neutralize something like a Rabbit Escape or Wells Unknown Abyss, but he doesn't have an actual counter to the Nue strike with electricity or a demon dog flanking them by coming off the walls and whatnot. And as much as like he can surround them maybe as quick as possible with the bugs, maybe, you know, that type of thing, but Max Elephant would just wash them all away and squash them. So this is a Megumi low diff. Now the second matchup, when this came up, I thought, wow, she really hit the jackpot. Nobara versus Tsurugi. This Tsurugi is just straight fodder. His only ninjutsu is just him being able to stretch out his body, but more so for just strangling purposes. It ain't like Luffy or nothing like that. So really this matchup, you know, it kind of technically it ain't that great for Nobara because she's not that great in close range fights, but I mean, I could be a little disrespectful, but I'm not gonna do that. This nigga Tsurugi is complete fodder. A grown ass man, he's trying to bully kids with a stretching ninjutsu. I gotta get this Nobara. This is, I'm gonna just say low diff. No, who really cares? Then when we get to the MCUG, you would have thought that Nobara hit the jackpot. No, it was definitely Yuji. Yuji is probably feeling like a car right now because he landed Kin from the Sound Village, the Kunoichi with the Bell Sound Genjutsu. This doesn't even need any further analysis. Yuji is going to kindly let her know these hands is really E for everyone, baby, and we gonna speed blitz Kin after a solid 2-piece combo. Everyone is advancing. And slight spoiler for the second round, these matchups get pretty ridiculous. We are in the finals of the Chunin exams where we will determine who will be ranked a Chunin by the end of these battles. The first matchup, one you probably wouldn't expect, but this is what happened.
Domestic violence.
We have Yuji versus Temari. This is a weird one because what this evidently comes down to is simply mobility. While I do believe Yuji will be smart enough to use the trees in the arena to try to dodge as many wind sides as possible, maybe even moving off the walls or just try to get a good clean hit on her, Yuji has high durability and the wind size is the equivalent to sharp knife cuts. Maybe he can use some rocks or rubble, use them as diversions or subtle attacks to get close to Temari, like he did in his fight with the propeller guy. And that's about much he can do. Tamari's 3 moons though indicate the intensity of her winds to pick up. I feel like she would have to do this immediately since she would know how powerful Yuji is in close range. But even with some of her better attacks, one downfall is it does take some time for her to actually wind up her fan, and even letting out something like the wind tornado that she used against Tenten, that did take some time. So really, to sum things up, if Yuji gets in punching distance, which I think he can, I'm giving the W to Yuji. And the reason is, if Temari was able to stay on her fan and actually be relatively good enough to do jutsus while on her fan flying through, I would have gave the win to Temari because she would have just stalled Yuji out. But she's really only able to float and glide on it for now at this point, so I got to give the W to Yuji anyways. So We're giving that as a mid diff for Yuji. The next matchup, I went ahead and did Nobara's, and let's see how this turned out. Oh man, Jesus Christ. Alright, so we know what both of these characters is capable of. Nobara is in the arena waiting for Sasuke, and of course he pulls up in his all black fit with Kakashi, top tier Sasuke fit by the way, with his newly acquired Chidori 1000 Birds. Now I love Nobara. I could, entertain a possible squabble between the two, but Sasuke is one of my favorite characters of all time. Nobara could use, resonance and hairpin on trees to trap them potentially. Maybe, if lucky, a Black Flash, but she has no real counter to Fireball Jutsu. No counter to Sasuke's speed and taijutsu that he copied from Lee, albeit a tier below Lee, but still very high rank compared to the other Genin. Then Chidori is just like an executioner move at this point. She has nothing, sadly, for Sasuke. Sasuke wins low diff and he's moving on. Who knows, we might talk about Sasuke in another video, but this man's body in Nobara. Now for the biggest matchup in the series, go ahead and take a look at this. Megami's opponent is none other than Gaara, with the biggest crossover matchup we can actually get. We know both of these fighters' abilities in ninjutsu at this stage of the game. If you somehow haven't read or watched Naruto, first of all, what's wrong with you? You need to get on that. I mean, you a couple years late, my boy. But Gaara's ultimate sand defense is automatic. Sand coffin, sand burial. The sand's tracking to not only protect Gaara but go after enemies is very quick, and Gaara's sand shield that he really starts to use in the Chunin exams in the finals. Not to mention the element of the one-tail Shukaku is at play, as before the Chunin exam finals took place, Gaara was drastically starting to lose his mind, and Megami is a very interesting matchup for Gaara, as Megami's first plan of strategy should be to attack Gaara from multiple angles. Demon Dog, Nue, Wells Unknown Abyss, and Max Elephant will be used throughout this fight, along with Megami's sword that he does still have contact with. At this point, Gaara is instantly shelling himself, and in a perfect world, Megami could have easily countered this with Orochi coming from the ground underneath Gaara, but Orochi was already exercised and defeated by this point, so he doesn't have that as an option. So what he's going to do is, with Megami having Demon Dog clawing at Gaara's shell and Nue zapping it with electricity, the closest he is going to get it cracking it a bit is after dropping Max Elephant on top of Gaara's shell. Except once this happens, then Shukaku's arm will start to stretch out, but we're going to divert a little bit from this and say that Gaara is already halfway taken over and decides to actually fight. Now Megami, even with Gaara outside the shell, is struggling to get better at understanding Gaara's automatic defense. He gets a kick and zaps him as Nue blindsides Gaara. Now Gaara experiences pain yet again, not as severe as like at Lee, but he understands that Megami is slowly starting to understand Gaara's automatic defense, not by simply trying to outmaneuver him with speed, but just trying to flank him from different areas and attacking him more than once. And Gaara would eventually just go aggressive mode, putting Nue in a sand coffin, and this is where Megami instantly brings Nue back into the shallows because he was about to get his exercising. He tries the same on Demon Dog too, but he was already dragged back. Megami would have no real option other than his domain expansion, which is incomplete. So from here on out, he launches his domain expansion, which Gaara is trapped in. Now, unfortunately for Megami, he is getting the most damage he's ever gotten on Gaara at this point. But with Shukaku really starting to take over, you'll see Gaara's body morph is slowly getting to Shukaku's body. So realistically, the match will probably be set as a undetermined or undecided. Although Megami's domain expansion is a weird one to tackle in an actual battle sense, because while I do think Megami could potentially take out Gaara with his domain, the fact that it's incomplete, doesn't have a barrier, and he really can't hold it as long as most people could, is one of the drawbacks to it. So at this stage, my gut is telling me Gaara wins with a mid to high diff, but let me know in the comments, do you think Megami could actually win this matchup if he actually uses his domain expansion? I'm not really going to count Maharaga in this, because I feel like if he used Maharaga, it would have been in a format of where he would be outside of the tournament, kind of taking the place of Sasuke, and then he would use it. All the events that take place in the Chunin exams will remain the same though, because I don't think the trio of Megumi, Yuji, and Nobara could realistically do something against that guard. Enjoy the video, leave a like and subscribe. You know, all the YouTube stuff helps out a lot. Maybe I'll have more crossover with JJK and Naruto, or even JJK and some other stuff. And you know, eventually I might actually put more series on there, see how they do. But I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.